Hi, so the other day I sort of changed around my computers and everything like that, and I managed to get my Nvidia card out of my old ITX box. It's really difficult to get to. So, and then they're sort of doing release candidates for Omarchy 3.4 at the moment, so to test it on hardware. So I dug out my Mac Pro 5.1, put the Nvidia card in it, and fired it up. So what we're going to do is have a look at Omarchy release candidate 3.4. It's not proper. I won't sort of look at it properly till next week when it comes out on my 5.1, and then just have a look at some games and stuff. It's quite surprising what a 16-year-old piece of hardware can actually do. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's just dive in. Okay, so here we are on the desktop. Now, a bit of backstory to this thing. Let's just bring up Fastfetch first of all. And just have a look at the spec here. There we are. I'll zoom in on this. So this is a Mac Pro mid 2010 to mid 2012. It's a dual CPU, so it's two Xeons, X5675s, 24 cores, and I've got an Nvidia 5060 Ti in there. Now, how do I do that? So the old Mac 5.1s were like the finest moment of Apple's engineering history. They were brilliantly made computers, good power supply, 1000-watt power supply, 900-watt power supply. You could expand them, and I was in post-production at the time, and these were everywhere. These were literally the machines to have. They were really powerful for the time, and you could do so much with them because we could put all our video capture cards in them. We could put RAIDs in them. They've got 4 drive bays, and you can actually get another one in there. And so they were great machines. I mean, this one is ancient, and I had this at my last place of work, and I just bought it off them for like peanuts. And it's edited so much material on that machine. It's still going. It's 16, 15 years old, and it was a great testament to Apple's engineering skills back in the day. I mean, now it's all soldered in everything. You know, they want you to buy a new one. That's what this is all about. It's all consumerized, and even their M1 boxes now, that's all soldered in. You can't upgrade it. You just need to get rid of it. You need to get a new one. You know, it's just awful ecosystem they've created now. PCs, you know, that's why I'm sort of skewing over, and thankfully with the Omarchy I've switched off Mac, so I won't have to be in that world anymore. Anyway, with this thing, you know, they basically abandoned it. The Nvidia cards, we had them, loads of Nvidia cards in them early on, but they abandoned the Nvidia drivers. And so basically there's a hack you have to do to get, I had to reflash the BIOS on this. You can do it. There's like a video on YouTube somewhere. You can get this. You reflash the BIOS because you used to get black screens on boot with different cards. But if you do this flash, it fires up the cards. You can't run any new AMD cards, the 9000 series, but the 7s work in it with a flash. The 6s work out the boxes. Intel doesn't work at all because it needs resized bar, and these things don't have that. But yeah, so you can run any of the RTX cards in there so long as it sits underneath the power requirement. Now you can't, I think it's about 200 watts is the top whack you can draw from all the slots in the thingy. So the 5060 Ti is perfect, and so is a 4060 Ti, because basically they don't draw that much power. I think it's 1800 watts tops. So you can run this card quite merrily in here, and it's great. And what happened was there's been a massive sort of thing over the years with open core and all these sorts of things to keep it on OS X. I dropped off that. I started to put Unix on it, and I realised that this thing has a massive life because of Unix. And now, like even with this, with the Omarchy, it works, and it works quite well. So I mean, you know, you can do all your normal stuff, everything. I mean, what I'll do is I've already loaded the games installer, and I'm going to launch the games installer so you can see it running, and then I'll just show you some benchmarks with this machine with these ancient Xeon chips in it and what it can achieve. So let's just come out of that. Let's go W, and then we just I've installed the games installer already. I mean, it's a bit slower. Interesting. It's like the interface is a bit slower when you move around it. It's got a little bit of a lag on it. But let's just launch the Game Scopes launcher. Here we are, switching to games mode. So they'll come up, but you'll notice something straight away with this. When you move around it, when it boots in, Here we go. Get there. I can hear the steam. Yeah, there it is. See, it's all a bit slower, a bit stuttery. Yeah, so basically, when you move around it, everything's a little bit slower on this interface. However, as we'll see in a minute when I go through the games, you can play games on it quite reasonably. Even now, even 16 years. However, there's a big caveat with these machines. They don't have AVX2 extension sets, so certain games just won't play. So on this, you couldn't run Doom. You couldn't run Doom Dark Ages, or you can't run the Doom before that as well, and Returnal won't play, and nor will Helldivers. However, Homeworld 3, for what it's worth, works. Cyberpunk works, and so does Art Raiders. So, and it plays very well, and I will do that in a minute. So then, yeah, so I just come out of that. Oh, need the R. Super Shift R. And come back to the desktop. So, I mean, what could you do with this? I mean, that's the question. What could you have a machine? I mean, I don't know how much these cost to pick up on eBay now. But, I mean, what's the spec of this again? Forgotten. Is it 64 gigs of RAM? Fast fetch. It's got... Yeah, it's got 64 gigs of RAM. And, I mean, one of the things that makes it slower is it's got an old-school SSD. I say old-school SSD. It's got like a standard SSD in it, not a NVMe. So it's at 300 megs per second because obviously it's PCI 2 for the graphics card. You're looking at a much slower bandwidth. You know, your SSD is quite quick. I mean, I did have a card in there years ago that allowed it to do like a couple of the slots can go up to like 1,000 megs per second. So you can upgrade them. I mean, I don't know how much these things. Let's do that live. How much is one of these on eBay? So everything's a little bit slow at eBay. Mac 5,1. Now some people are having a laugh with these. What's that one? So that's the same as it's 250 quid. I mean, would you want one? I mean, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. They are certainly not worth that much money. But yeah, I mean, you know, I think that one's okay for 200 quid. You get 200 quid, but you need a good graphics card. But the beauty of it is if you buy an RTX 5060 Ti, or or just a 5060 variant, or even a 5050, just to look at the graphics wattage on it, you can put that in another machine. And these things seem if they come with RAM. That's the trick, isn't it? Because now we're all stuck to buy RAM. Does it? That's got 24 gig in it. That's got 60. No, that's the other. Don't want that one. Don't want the trash cans. They're just no great. They're not fun at all. That's got 64 in it. That's got 32. So you get sort of reasonable. And now you can. This is interesting. You can get Thunderbolt on this thing. I've got a Thunderbolt card for it as well. I must get rid of it. I was going to either turn it into buy another one, an empty chassis, and turn it into a table, or I was going to I don't know. I should sell it. I don't use it anymore. It just got out. I was just rebuilding this computer, the new computer, and I just thought, I've got the card out. Let's fire it up and just test Omarchy, and it works. So there you go. So bit of fun there. It just goes to show that like Linux is brilliant because it works on ancient hardware, something as slick as Omarchy, with all its bells and whistles. It works perfectly on here. And I mean, I've only just put it onto wired network. It worked on the Bluetooth card. The Bluetooth works, and the Wi-Fi works, and the computer's 16 years old. So it's one of the big redeeming features for me with Linux. I mean, with Omarchy, you can put it on T2 Macs. Out of the box, support for Macs is brilliant with Omarchy. T2 Macs, I put it onto pretty much everything I've got, and it works. So I mean, it's a really Arch Linux is a really unique, or Linux as a whole is a very unique operating system ecosystem because it's not designed to be hardware specific. Like with Windows, you always find yourself having to upgrade it, don't you? Upgrade the hardware to match with Linux, just sits there. So what we'll do now, I'll just go through a couple of games and quickly talk about them, and then I'll come back at the end of that. Okay, so I fired up Homeworld 3, and I put it on the same settings as I normally test everything on, which is Epic. And you can see it's sort of struggling through it there. But I mean, it's ancient Xeon, 2 Xeon. But the thing is, it's got a 5060 Ti there, which should really be helping it. It does. I mean, it's trying to do its thing. So comparative scores, you're looking at the other on like a 960 XT on a Ryzen 9 and a more modern thing, even a i13 or whatever it's called, probably about 70 or 80 frames per second on this, and we're getting 34. You can see, okay, so I flashed this up. This is what you get. This is what we're talking about, AVX instruction sets. You get that come up when you do Helldivers and other games that don't support it. So, but however, diving straight into Cyberpunk. Now this is set on Ultra, okay, with the normal settings I use. And if you've looked at my other videos, this normally comes in between 70 and 80, and it's doing okay. I've not changed the settings, so it's Ultra, but it's got a DLSS on. There's no frame gen, and it's managing to pull this off, which is not bad. And the other thing is, look at the frame graph in the top left-hand corner. That's pretty flat. So, it sort of fails. The 5.1 in 2026 fails dramatically on certain things, but seems to be okay on some of the games. Now, Cyberpunk 2026 didn't work for a while because it didn't allow you to run it with machines without AVX, but they did a patch, and so it works. So that's not bad. I mean, that's totally playable, and it's on Ultra. So, I mean, there you go. That's pretty good. I mean, that's all down to the graphics card, isn't it? It's not the CPUs. And then, there we go, 62. High, texture quality high, transform model auto. So that's all on the top things. And this really shocked me. So this is Art Raiders. And this is default. So I put DLSS on and I put frame gen on at the same time. So I've just set it up and it's on high settings. And this is totally, look at the frame in the corner there. The game scope, it's 120, it's got DLSS on and frame gen. I've switched on, I mean, but people keep telling me, and I have to do an independent video on this, if frame gen actually works in Linux for some of these things, because it looks like it does here, because you can see it bouncing around quite dramatically. Now, the frame graph's not super flat, but you can see, let's get out onto the surface here, breach these boxes. I mean, I did the whole round in this. It was really bizarre, because when I started playing it, I thought this won't work at all. And I did have a few issues with the inbuilt Wi-Fi card not connecting to the network, but it's a Sunday afternoon I was doing this, and I couldn't get on a wired to start, so I'm not sure what was going on there, but this is on a wired connection, and it seems to work okay. But look at the frame rate. It does jump around a fair bit as it starts to get more detail. And there's a few glitches there. You can see them on the frame graph. But it totally, it's totally playable, this. I mean, I was looking at my machine last night. That was clocking in at 80, 90 frames per second on a Ryzen 9 with the 5060 Ti. And this can do it. So this really shocked me. So yeah, I need to have a look at if frame gen really does work. Because, I mean, it must be frame gen supporting this. And it's got DLSS on it. And it's, if it's 4 times frame gen, then it could be working. Anyway, there you go. So that works. So let's just go over to me. So yeah, so just a fun exercise there. Getting the 5.1 out. Putting Nvidia 5060 Ti in it. And at the beginning of the video, I've been through how you do that. There's a BIOS flash. You need to get that thing working. But Omarchy runs perfectly on it. And, it is funny. It's a 16-year-old computer. And you can put Omarchy on it. You could use it. The display refreshes a little bit slower, but I haven't got that 5.1 set up like I used to. I used to have an NVMe in there. I used to have, and it had a Thunderbolt card and it had all the stuff in it. So I'm sure if that was running on the NVMe, it would even be a bit snappier. But yeah, there you go. I just thought that would be a bit of fun. So it's just a big underlying thing with Linux. No matter how flashy and glossy your Linux distro is like Omarchy is, it still runs on old hardware, and it runs really well. So, I mean, I know that Omarchy has been brilliant by supporting T2 Macs out of the box, which is great. So, you know, you can use that on old laptops and old. I've done a video, there's a video somewhere on my channel about putting Omarchy on a T2 Mac Mini. So yeah, so it's great. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Just a bit of fun. Thanks for watching.